My name is Mala Naraine, and I currently live in Toronto. I was born in Georgetown, Guyana. When I was born totally blind from congenital cataracts and congenital glaucoma. As a result, I have surgery. I have vision in the left eye only, and I am very independent. I did a doctorate in education from OISE University of Toronto. Faculty, OISE is the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education, University of Toronto, and I have a doctorate in education, specializing in the barriers for blind people, blind and low vision people in the workplace. And my thesis, my department was educational psychology, Department of Developmental Psychology. And I have done a lot of research on blindness and visual impairment for my doctoral research, my doctoral dissertation, where I examine barriers faced of blind and low vision people in the workplace. And one of the barriers they face is when they got into a room, they couldn't navigate the room physically because they didn't know where the tables and chairs were. So that's why I find the BuzzClip really interesting. We wish we had them when I was doing my thesis, because it would have made blind people more independent when they're in a room with a lot of people and it's a party, or when they have to in the workplace when there's social gatherings. They don't know who's in the room. They don't know when there's a chair or table where they could sit, where they could find an empty seat. So the bus clip would have been great, and I'm so glad that the bus clip was invented to remove one of those barriers that I identified in my thesis, barriers to social inclusion in the workplace.
Perfect. And do you use a cane or a guide dog?
I use a white cane. I've started using a white cane as an adult. When I came to Canada, I've got adjustment to blindness courses from the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, CNIB. And as a result of orientation mobility training, I was given a white cane that helps me to navigate around when I'm traveling, navigate the wayfinding. And I can also use it to live independently and travel independently with them as a mobility device. So the white cane has made me very independent. It's also created a lot of awareness in the community. When people see a blind person with a cane, they know you're not seeing, so they move out of your way, and they're not upset if you bump into them. So and it's not so. It saved me a lot of embarrassment, because before I got my white cane, I used to be very embarrassed when I would walk and just bumped into somebody on the right, because I have no vision on my right, and people would get annoyed because you think you're just banging into them, and of course it would bang me as well. So, it'd be a lot of bumps and a lot of sore necks and sore arms and, sore feet, because you're banging into things in the way and stump your toe, and especially when you're wearing sandals and slippers as opposed to whole shoes. So I find that, using a white cane, in the last 20 years, 25 years, has made a big difference to my life and my independence and my ability to live independently and travel by myself. Travel to go on trips by myself, and in Canada as well as in the US. And I've been able to go to conferences and manage by myself, with some assistance from sighted people at the conference, just to navigate the room or to cross the street in a different country. In the US, you're not familiar with the streets like you are in Toronto. So you do need some assistance with navigation and wayfinding. So I find that I travel, and the traveling has made, the cane has made me very independent, and also I feel more confident with using a cane, because I know people will be aware, and I don't have to worry that, because I know I'll be able to bump into a wall with the cane, and I would get advance warning, because the cane will pick up that there's a door coming up, because it will hit the door. When I was a kid and I didn't have a cane, I used to bump into chairs and tables, and at school I'd bump into people, and I would be bumping into the desk. And sometimes the desk has a sharp edge, and I would injure my leg or something. And sometimes I bump into poles. I had more accidents when I was a child because I didn't have the cane. But as an adult with the cane, I still have a few accidents, but not as much as when I was growing up. I still don't see properly at nights to detect that there's a pole coming up, like on the sidewalk, especially in the winter, or trees, or sometimes there's things sticking out like sandwich boards. and things like that the cane doesn't always pick up. And sometimes you're using the cane to focus on one thing, and then something is sticking out, like mailboxes or those newspaper boxes, and those patio on the sidewalk in the summer, and you bump into the patio, like you're walking suddenly, and then construction. And usually in construction, sometimes the guys are there and they see you and they come and guide you through. But often, if you're alone, or if sometimes you don't, there's nobody around. And I'm pretty lucky. I don't get too many accidents, but I could have used more information with knowing if something is in my way, like an obstacle, because sometimes people are on their phone, and you don't know they're there, and you bump into them on the sidewalks, especially on the subway too. Like they'll stop at the rail of the subway, like the stairs, going down the stairs. Some people stop there, and then they're texting or on their phone, and I don't know, and I'm walking and thinking they're going to move, and they're not moving. And they just stand there. And sometimes there's people sitting on the subway stairs, like they just come and sit there, and I don't know, and I'm heading down the stairs, and then suddenly there's a person there, and you can't go around them because it's too late, because you have to I sometimes have to go back up the stairs and go find another way, another rail, the opposite rail, because I need to hold on to the rail when I'm going down the stairs, because I don't want to fall. So I try to walk around safely and to take precautions. But it's certainly, easy. I think one time I bumped into a glass door and hit my head and broke my glasses as an adult, in Royal Bank, the Royal Bank building. The doors were all glass. So after my accident, and their insurance pay for new glasses, they put a yellow line on the door. So if you're visually impaired, you can see. So I would have loved the BuzzClip then, because that was in the 80s, and I would have loved the BuzzClip because that would have helped me detect that there was a barrier, a wall coming up, and so I should be careful. But glass doors are the worst. If I had accidents, it's often with glass doors, and you don't really know there's a glass door, and then you bump into it. And also things on the sidewalk. Sometimes people leave things on the sidewalk. Little cones, the construction cones, and also people put garbage on the sidewalk, or they would leave like cans, bottles and cans, and they're rolling around, and that's easily to fall. So I'm always afraid of that. And it's also sometimes on the stairs going down to the subway, there's cans and garbage. The TTC is pretty good of cleaning it up, but sometimes the odd time things fall down the stairs, and the things are left on the stairs. So that's my accidents. But my main thing is restaurant patios and sandwich boards and poles on the sidewalk, like sticking out like that. Sometimes there's, I don't know, these metal poles. I don't know what they do. Why are they there? I have no idea why they're there. Right in my street on Perth Avenue, as I turn in to go to my building, there's a pole sticking out. I don't know, it's metal. I've often bumped into it because I forget it's there, and especially at nights, it's not visible. Because I have some vision during the day, but at nights my vision is not as good as understandable with the disability. But it's so these poles sticking out of nowhere, but that can trick me, and I often bump into them. It's nice to see that it picked up empty tables, and so I used it indoors, and I found that there was, when it was coming up to a wall, I was able to walk and where the stairs were, and I felt that there's something coming up, so I was alert, so I put my hand out, and then I felt the wall above the stairs, and the same with the elevator. As I was approaching the elevator, I felt something was a barrier, like there's a wall. So then I felt, and I figured, put my cane, and I felt that must be the elevator doors, because it has an insert, and then I feel the wall, follow the wall, the cane to the wall, and put my hand on the elevator button. So I was able to figure out that's the elevator. I touched the panel first and figure out where the button was. I pressed a few wrong things. Then I eventually was lower down and found the buttons. And also I found it was interesting, when you get into the building, you can use the BuzzClip to explore, hold it in your hand and explore the ground. I mean, you get that with the cane, but to see if there's anything on the ground. The cane picks up a lot of it, but the BuzzClip is nice to have both. If you don't know the building, in an unfamiliar building, and you're going in for the first time, there'll be lots of surprises. So you want to use the BuzzClip. I find it would be useful to use it in conjunction with the cane. So the cane could be in one hand, the BuzzClip in another hand, and you explore different areas at the same time. And that would give you more information all together and save you some time. And then you could, scout out the area, figure out, okay, there might be stairs coming up, or this is an empty space. It's a big empty area, and then you could go left or right and find walls. Blind people navigate with walls, so they have to find a wall, and then they follow the wall, see where it takes them. So the BuzzClip would help you to find the nearest wall, and then you could use your cane and go along the wall, find the elevators or the stairs or the garbage or another area where you can go in, a door that you can enter. So I found it really useful. And then also when we went outside, people are standing on the sidewalks all the time. You don't know what they're doing there. They might be on their phone, they might be lost. And someone was holding a board, and on his phone he was carrying something. Well, he was in my path, but I walked by, and the BuzzClip picked up the obstacle, and I didn't know what it was, but I just felt that my cane tell me something is there, and I moved around it and continue walking. So that it would be useful when you're outside, mostly for outside in the winter, and also in the summer, because in the summer the sidewalks are often crowded with lots of people, especially if you go to Harbourfront, the Center Island, and there's often people all over. So it will tell you that there's people around you, and they might be right in front of you or behind you or on the side, and it buzzes you, so it keeps you alert, because the buzzing tells you that, yeah, there's still people around.